After a couple of days of respite in the Cleveland area, I decided to continue on. And this trip is a little bit different from the last trip, and that is because we're passing through a lot more populated areas. On the last trip, we started in Duluth, but most of the areas that we passed through were sparsely populated, pretty far north near the Canadian border. And I think the largest city other than Duluth we passed through was International Falls, Minnesota. This trip, on the other hand, there's a big difference. Already we've passed through Erie, Pennsylvania and Cleveland, Ohio. In this episode, we're going to be passing through Toledo, Detroit, and Port Huron. So already we're having an entirely different vibe in Series 2 than we had in Series 1. This scenic back route is called Cedar Point Road and leads, of course, to the Cedar Point Amusement Park. This is the way that we would come when I was a kid, when we would go visit the theme park every couple of summers or so. I could only imagine what it would be like to live out here all year round with the wind whipping off the lake. During the summer it'd be really nice, but I'm not so sure it would be a lot of fun during the winter. The Cedar Point Amusement Park has been here since the late 19th century. It started in the 1880s and is still going strong today. The day before I filmed this footage, I actually came out here with an old friend of mine and spent the day out here. There are things that you can do without paying to go into the park. You can visit the beach, there's a hotel. I'm sure that there are a few other things that you can do without having to pay admission into the park. As I approach the booth that leads into the parking lot, you can hear a little gasp from me in the soundtrack, and that's because I forgot about the little toll booth here to pay for parking. However, since I was passing through, they allowed me to just pass through and drive through the parking lot and out because I wasn't actually going into the park itself. Oh. Heading out here towards Marblehead Lighthouse is another area that holds a lot of childhood memories for me. Back when I was a kid, back in the late 60s and early 70s, we had a trailer out here at a place called Bay Point, which is kind of right at the end of the Marblehead Peninsula. And from that campsite, we could see the Cedar Point Amusement Park right across the water here. This is also an area of historical interest. If you remember back in my Pennsylvania Edge to Edge video, the first episode of the second series, I talked about the Battle of Lake Erie. Well, this is where the Battle of Lake Erie took place. Right off here is Johnson's Island, and then Kelly's Island, which is where they had a prisoner of war camp for Confederate soldiers back during the Civil War. It's an area that is rich in history, and at this point, probably as close to Canada as we're going to get here in Ohio. I happened to get there on a weekday, so it wasn't all that busy, but Marblehead Lighthouse is actually a really popular place for families to come. We came here a few times when I was a kid as well. and it's a good place to go picnicking or wander down to the lakefront or just sit out and enjoy the nice weather. It's a nice scenic little park, and it's got a lovely lighthouse that you can tour and you can climb up to the top of it. It's overall just a kind of a cool place to hang out for an afternoon. So here in Detroit was a place where I kind of had to make a choice about what route I was going to take. I could have gone through downtown along the Rouge River and taken the kind of a noodly path through the downtown area. However, there were a number of problems that made that a little bit more problematic than normal. First was the sheer amount of construction that was going on. They are repairing roads and bridges all over the place. So I decided to stay on the freeway partially for that reason. The other reason really has to do with the traffic. As you can see, the traffic is already pretty busy here out on the freeway, and we're getting towards afternoon rush hour at this point. So it really was a choice that made sense, considering that I had to be in Bad Axe in the evening, and I wasn't sure how long I might get stuck up here in downtown Detroit area. There's not that much of interest to film in downtown Detroit anyway, so I did make a choice to kind of go around it and then back out to the coast at my nearest convenience. Considering all the detours that I faced just doing that, it was probably a good choice in the long run. It probably saved me a couple of hours of travel time. Welcome to the thumb of Michigan, or almost there. We're pretty close. We're in a little town called St. Clair, Michigan. This is the St. Clair River. And what you see on the other side of the water, well, that's Canada. We're just a few miles south of Sarnia, Ontario. Nice little place to take a break after the Detroit conurbation. Nice little town. All right, we got to get moving though. This is Port Huron. This is a major Great Lakes port. We get international shipping through here. Part of the Great Lakes Seaway. Once again, we have the St. Clair River here. Canada on the other side. Cool ships though. Look at them. Look like bulk freighters, like iron ore ships. Rather industrial, but you know, still pretty cool. All right, let's ease on down the road. Lake Huron. I don't know if you can make it out, but right out here, right about there, there's a big ship, like a big freighter. The color is just amazing out here. It's just brilliant. people were wondering why I went to Bad Axe on this trip. Seeing as Bad Axe is not actually around the edges, the reason why was accommodation. And unfortunately, I was also rerouted due to a detour. I don't know if there was road construction or a bridge out or whatever, but I was forced to divert, and it took a little bit longer to get to Bad Axe than I was hoping. But I did make it there in the end. And of course, in the morning, I actually went back to Harbor Beach and continued off from where I left the night before. It's just one of those things that happens sometimes where accommodation is available in one place but not another, and it really has nothing else to do with the trip. So if anybody out there thought that I was doing a sneaky shortcut, no, that's not really the case. I actually went out of my way both going there and